Yes, I prefer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. We forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory, forever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to a special call city council meeting. The city clerk will not be with us tonight. Mrs. Linda Coates will be filling in. So Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Sir. Mr. St. Columbia,
Present.
Ms. Harris, Mr. Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Maxine Miller,
Here.
Mr. Etherly.
Here.
And Ms. Davis.
Now, council, before we get started, listen, I just present you all some documents. I know you all hadn't had a chance to go over it, but it's basically these documents are to show you all, these are city bills from the water department that hadn't been paid, that has been paid. I just wanted to bring it to you all attention that, this is some of our, respect, but some of our issues that are going on with the city. Just so you can view and like I said, I'm gonna be very transparent with you all to let you all know what's going on. These are some bills that was past due and we have paid. So I want you all to look at that and get familiar with it, because anything that happens, you all will be getting it across your desk so you all can see the financial state of our city. Just to let you all, I'm just give you a quick rundown. The first one is it has been paid, but it's $51,000. So I want y'all to see that. The $51,000 is to AT&T. The city was past due of $34,350.79 was past due, and this is for the water department. It seems mighty high, but I just want to let you all know that so you can see what this check was written for. It was $51,526.11. This is from your water department. Then you have another one.
Like internet, cell phone.
Ms. Harris, I want to say it's a combination of things, but we don't know. We just got a new water manager over there, and some people who's going to look into some things and see how can we get to lower that. But I didn't want to, when people holler about overtime, raises and things like this, some of this is a problem that we have if it's brought to you all and you all can see it, because when we holler about budgeting, we didn't budget to spend $51,000 in 1 month to AT&T. So that's some of the things I want to be transparent with you all, so you will know. I'm shedding light on anything. My goal is to make sure you all are aware of each and everything that goes on, so all of us can have a handle on city finances, not just the clerk and the treasurer and myself, but you all. That's a part of our role is to know what's going on with the finances, and I want to make sure you all know. From when the treasurer gets in, whenever he is back in, I make sure you all have a financial status on where we are from day to day, what we have in the bank and things like that. You all need to know that, because when I was sitting where you all was, that was the information I was crying about, whining about, fighting to know what we had, and I want you all to have it.
So if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
The one thing I want to point out about this, this is a regular utility bill, so it does not fall within the 5,000 spending limit of the mayor. It appears that this is 3 months, to the 17,000 times 3, and just reading the bill from AT&T, it's simply for the water department. It has not been paid in 3 months.
Can we senior council members explain to us,
because I still don't quite understand, like with the water company, is it self-sustaining or they have their own budget, or how is it?
They are part of the city. Since consolidation, the municipal league, when we consolidated, advised us to get rid of the water commission. And so the water utility has been under the direction of the mayor and the city council since consolidation. So
And-
they're not separate, though they try to, in many ways, behave like they're separate. They are not separate and have not been separate since consolidation.
Well, a lot of people at the table didn't understand that. So we've had council people who sit and go, well, they're separate. When they had a water commission, they were separate. They still prepare their own budget, which is included in our budget, and we approve it. But they are as much under our direction and control as any other body in the city.
And I believe you all received the email, because Act 605 of 2021 required training for people who own it. Dr. Miller, you've gone to the training.
I have not. My sister has.
Oh,
I'm
it was
planning to go.
Miss Miller went. Okay. Now, as relates to the training, everybody that was here, Mr. the mayor, Mr. Franklin, Mr. St. Columbia, Mr. Etherly, Ms. Davis have been over here at the council for more than 10 years, so they're exempted from the training, but the 3 new members are supposed to get training within 1 year of being on the body. And so we would have to get you all to go to the training, but I suggest everybody go to the training. It's an 8-hour course. Ms. Maxine Miller has taken the course already in December, but the others need to take the course sometime this year. Yes, sir?
I'd like to say, in previous years, prior, because some of these people don't know, prior to consolidation, the city of Helena, which I served on for a number of years, had the water company separate from political views. And they had commissioners and took care of their own business. In fact, they had their own money, and we could not touch the water company's money. That's when Helena, when they were separate, 2 cities, and that was many years ago, and before consolidation. So when we consolidated, and of course, we put the 2 cities together, and they did away with the commissioners and the separation of the water company and put it under our jurisdiction.
Right.
And
As a practical matter, the city has not been taking money from the water utility. In recent years, what's happening is the water utility has been heavily relying on the city's resources in order to fund, and that is a very odd situation, because water utilities should have plenty of money. But we've had some issues that will be when on Thursday night, you'll probably hear many of those issues, but there'll be some issues with the water utility. With that, I'll yield.
Now, do they pay their bills? Do they pay their bills out of their budget, or do they pay out of the general operating fund, or out of a?
They have water utility checks, and accounts that they pay bills from, but this body is responsible for budgeting and et cetera for them.
were these bills in question part of their problem that they had in the water company?
These are all water bills.
They did not pay the water bills from their account, or was this supposed to be paid by our account?
Well, just a minute. What we'll do is the water department is scheduled to be here tonight. I was just giving you all this.
Yeah.
So you all could.
That's
Oh, Thursday, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we both-
I'm sorry, but I'm just giving you all this early so you all can have because I want to kind of get streets and district court and animal control.
Thursday asked for additional, the water department asked for additional time because there was so many documents that they had that they were trying to get hold of. But to answer your question with St. Columbia, I believe that all of these that you're presented are from the water utility, and the water utility created the bill and they were responsible for paying the bill. They did not pay the.
They did not pay their bills. So,
Correct.
right.
It's been an ongoing issue.
Wasn't, our treasurer wasn't supposed to pay those, right?
Right. Because they collect their money
Yeah.
when people pay the bill.
And they're
They're,
supposed to pay their bill.
they're supposed to take the sanitation part and send it to us. And they're supposed to, they pay their own bills in-house. And these are ones that
But the
didn't get
point I'm
paid.
trying to make, it was not our responsibility
No,
to pay
no.
those bills. It
No,
was the water company's responsibility.
right, right.
Okay.
As a technicality, I somewhat agree with you saying, but I think the issue is, it is always this body's responsibility to make sure it's paid. In the practically how you do it, the water utility has still had people who were doing accounts receivable, accounts payable, and paying the bills, to answer your question more specifically. But ultimately, it is the city's responsibility to make sure that they're paying the bills.
So just wanted to give you all that bit of information so you all can be ready. So when the water department comes, you all can be ready for these questions. And I just want to make sure that information that I didn't get when I was on the city council, make sure you all get, so you will know how to respond to different things, and you will see, you know, what this whole thing about me being a radical was about, because I didn't have the information that you all had. And I'm gonna provide you all with so much paperwork that it's gonna be overwhelming, but I want you all to see it as I go through it. So,
I appreciate that. Will they be here tonight?
no, Thursday. So we got the street department, Mr. Clarence Allen is here to discuss the street department.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Clarence Allen, Director of the Street Department. So far, everything is legit. We have concerns about just only one thing, and that's equipment. And, you know, that's about it. We can,
Mr. Allen, could you speak up? So I'm having difficulty hearing.
you can't hear this bass in my voice. I say everything is legit except for equipment.
You're fully staffed, all your.
No, sir.
staff?
No, sir. But we can take care of that later.
How many dump trucks do you have?
Operable,
Operable. Yes,
0.
really.
Tell us what you mean when you say equipment. What part?
Mainly, we use knuckle boom trucks that picks up the items off the street. One was wrecked, I want to say last year in September. And the one that is operable, it has a shortage where the PTO comes on and off when it gets ready. But we can't get it fixed because that's all we have. So we have to work with what we got.
What is the PTO for those in listening audience?
Oh, it's you know, to turn on your boom so it can, you know, operate. I mean, it's simple.
There's a-
Yeah,
there's a
power, yeah,
takeoff, right?
power takeoff button, that's all it is.
Yes.
So with the truck that was wrecked in September, have you all had any feedback on? Do anybody know what happened with it?
About 9, I was told that we were supposed to receive about $9,000 for repairs.
Okay.
Well, the mechanic don't think that's enough to have it repaired. But we're gonna look into that. But other than that, and I think, yeah, I'm understaffed by about 6 positions.
How many positions do you have?
Oh, about 14, 15. I'm just taking an estimate off the top of my head.
Have you had any applications that come in?
They're in, but I was thinking that we were gonna wait till we get this budget passed before we start to act on that.
How many trucks do you think we'll need to get our, the whole city's trash picked up on time weekly? Just 2?
2,
Just 2?
just 2. I mean, if they work like I do, we only need 2.
Well, for the record, you're speaking of the street
The
department.
street
You're just talking
department,
about
street department only.
the waste on the side of the road.
Yeah, the trash on the, you know,
Right.
debris, things
Oh,
like
that's
that.
the thing that had the arm
Yeah,
on
it has the arm on it.
Right.
Okay,
The sanitation department picks up the residential
Yeah,
trucks, is that correct?
in the commercial, yeah.
okay, that's
So
what I was speaking.
You're speaking of the limbs and the debris on the side of the road that's left
Yes, sir.
on pickup
Okay.
day.
Okay.
Mhm.
What we call class four trash, what we
There
call
you
class
go.
four. And I got a question about that. I don't want
Okay,
to
okay,
divert
you
you,
go.
but somebody asked this question today. Back right after consolidation, class four trash had a regular route, just like sanitation.
Sanitation.
So like my day is Tuesday. I knew if I put my stuff out on the curb, not only would the garbage truck come by, but I knew boom truck would come by on Tuesday. Now it seems like people have to call to get somebody to come out. And let me not make this a complaint, because when I call, they usually come out and pick it right up. So it's not, but the regular schedule let people know when they could just put it out and it would be picked up. Is
Good
it possible
idea, good idea is put it out the day before.
the day before? But is it possible that we can get back to a regular schedule so people just know on this day I can put it out?
If we had 2 trucks,
So that's the holdup on being.
there you go.
Okay, so you said it was it's projected as a $9,000 fix. Is that in-house or out-of-house?
No, the settlement check was $9,000.
Oh,
They wrecked a big old truck.
so we got
And
insurance check.
insurance sent you $9,000 and it's not enough to fix it.
Do we know how much it costs to fix?
We haven't got off into that yet.
Okay,
They thought it was gonna be total,
oh, okay.
but they decided not to total it. So you're gonna have one that's pieced together by the guys out there on Sebastian Street. Hopefully it won't fall apart.
And that's about all I have except for
So-
one more.
Since we have one boom truck, for people who are complaining about having trash by the road for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however many times, because some people are complaining about that. What do they need to do to get the trash off of their property? Do they just call?
You're gonna have to call. The way I got it set up,
What's the number to call?
right now, 572-5665.
Could you repeat that a little louder, sir?
572-5665. But the way I got it set up, 1 week, you run one side of the route, the next week, you run the other side, so there's gonna be a 2-week delay
Until we get a second truck, that's 2 weeks.
until we get a second truck. And that's about all I have, except for one more issue. Animal control.
So we're gonna, animal control gonna be, let them talk to you.
You know what I'm talking about, though, don't you? Okay. All right, John.
Next is Judge Jason Carter for District Court.
Thank y'all for having me.
Good evening.
Some of you know me, some of you haven't met yet. Jason Carter, District Court Judge. After the first part of the meetings, might not be the best time to ask, but I'm here to ask for raises for my department. Asking for $1 across the board raise an hour for everybody except for the person that just started. She would not be eligible for a pay increase until her however many days is up. I'm asking for an additional $1 per hour for Ms. Hancock, who has taken over Ms. Hayden's responsibilities. She's got new and additional responsibilities for her position. She's doing the county docket now. And so I'm asking for a $2 increase for her, a $1 increase for everybody else. I've done the numbers on it. If my math is correct, from last year's salaries, with this raise, it would be an increase in our salary budget of $5,325 for the year. Total. That doesn't count in the benefits. I believe the city pays 15.28% into retirement or something like that. So 15.28% of that would be $814. That would be a total increase over last year's budget of $6,140, which if you divide that out by month, that's about $512 a month. What I'm asking for these raises for my department. My department does not have a whole lot of overtime. We go over sometimes on Tuesday afternoons. We're not an overtime heavy department. Everybody's performing very well. I think they all deserve it. But I understand that, money's tight, but I still had to come here and ask for it. So
Looking at last year's budget, did y'all go under or over budget from what you had in your budget?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. And yeah, treasurer's not here. I just, based on what the salaries were set last year and what I'm asking for,
Yeah,
that's my estimation of what it would be an additional, $6,200 a year.
Do you have plans to replace Ms. Hayden?
Ms. Hayden, so we had a clerk that was doing the civil docket. She has moved over and taken over Ms. Hayden's responsibilities. So she is now the deputy clerk that handles everything Ms. Hayden did. We just hired a new clerk, Ms. Sandra Gant, who is handling the civil docket that Ms. Hancock was previously handling. Ms. Gant will come in at the base pay $15 an hour. So I'm not asking for an increase for her because she would not be eligible for that increase for however many days. I can't remember off the top of my head how many that would be.
So what, if I understand you correctly, for the entire year, you're asking for your department to have less than $10,000 in increase for everything. Is that correct?
If my math's correct, it would be significantly less than $10,000 for the whole year.
$5,000 approximately the total amount.
The salaries was about 5,300 plus whatever the
Yeah.
retirement is on there. as well.
Matching, yeah, okay.
That was that's one of the things I was wanting to talk about. The other thing we've been needing, and it's not something that's just immediate that we have to have, but it's something that needs to be done. I don't know if any of you have ever been over in the district court clerk's office. There are paper dockets from, I don't know how far back they go, 20 plus years probably. This morning I had a 800-page docket. Now they're not always that big, but sometimes they are. And we're going back 20 years. We have to keep all of these dockets indefinitely. You never can get rid of them unless you can digitize them and keep them, on some type of digital format, which is something that my district court clerk, Ms. Hansberry, wants to do, but it's not something that she would spend all of her time doing that if that's all she did. And so she's asked for a part-time person to help, and all they would do is the scanning. And it would be, what she's asking for is around 25 hours a week at minimum wage. I'm not sure what the cutoff is on when the city would have to provide insurance and retirement. But we could make sure that whatever the hours is, it'd be less than that. We just need some help that all this person will be doing is scanning these dockets in so that we can get some room in there to work. It's really a fire hazard for all the papers that are over there. If it were to go up, it would be not good.
If you go back to the code enforcement office, all the way around the back part of the building, you have file cabinets full of district court all the way around. The code enforcement office is packed with file cabinets. So we can't even have any offices back there because district court has nothing but their files.
Yeah, there's rooms that are just filled with
File cabinets.
documents that we've got to retain. Like I say, if you can scan those, get them on, there are certain requirements that you have to meet, but as long as you meet those requirements, you can have them all digitized and those become the originals. And so once those are the originals, the digital copies, you can destroy all those others and free up a lot of room. And so that's why Ms. Hansberry's been asking.
You already have equipment for that, or you would need to?
I think we have a scanner that we've been working with, but if not, I believe the district court probably has the funds to purchase whatever scanner we would need. Just as far as somebody to man that scanner, because it would be an all day, every day that you're there, just scanning things.
Will you need a server as well, just for that purpose?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure on that. I would have to check on that.
And to clear up some space, can you also see if you all can get a container? So it could be outside on the parking lot, over here on the side of the building, so we can free up some of those offices, so we can get some workspaces, because we got the spaces for the code enforcement, but they have nowhere to go because their files are just taking up space.
I understand. The only thing about that is you got to make sure that that container is locked and very leak proof. Because if you stick something in there and it starts leaking in there, now because we've run into that before. There's stuff from back before consolidation that we're still having to keep. And we've got years that are missing or years that were destroyed at whether it's, I don't remember if it was Helena or West Helena. But when people go to do a background check, they'll call a clerk's office and say, hey, what happened in 1988 with so-and-so? And you've got to have those documents, and I don't want that to happen later if we've got a container full of documents that gets, water damage.
How many part-time employees were you asking for that?
Just
purpose?
one.
Just one.
25 hours a week, $11 an hour. That's $275 a week times 52 weeks is $14,300.
And you're asking for one more, is that correct?
Just one part-time person.
Or one part-time?
One part-time person. That's all they would do is just the scanning stuff. And if you don't have to, if they're part-time, you wouldn't have to pay for health insurance or retirement, then it would just be $14,300.
Social Security, Medicare, and all that.
Do we know what district court has?
Sorry,
The district court fund, do we know what it has in it right now?
I don't know off the top of my head.
What, did he say no social security and no all of that?
No, I think it would have social security.
Social Security.
But those are the main two things I wanted to talk to you about. There's something else I'd like to get some more input on before I propose to you. So at some point in the future, I may want to come back and discuss some things that we're thinking about maybe doing in district court. But I'd like to get some input from some other people here before we do that. So the main two things was just the pay increase and part-time position.
Yeah, point of personal privilege as it relates to code enforcement. If affidavits are done, will you hear all of those? Is code enforcement doing affidavit for property?
Yeah, if there were any affidavits that were turned in, they would be sent, and I would hear all of those. They would all come to district court.
Okay. And you've been a judge how long?
Going on my third year, so started in January of 21, so 2 full years.
Okay. And over the course of the affidavit process, do you review all the affidavits that come in?
I do.
Okay. Have you reviewed a large number of those from code enforcement or sanitation?
I know that I have reviewed one over the past 2 years, but probably less than a handful that I have reviewed over the past 2 years. We have not had very many code enforcement cases in district court at all.
That's all questions.
All right.
Questions for Judge Carter? Thank you, Judge.
All right. Thank y'all.
Next on the list is animal control. It's Beth Florick.
Good evening. My name is Beth Florick, and I am the Animal Control Officer for Helena-West Helena. And I have greater than 13 years background in animal rescue here locally. And I've been a nurse for 47 years. So that adds into my ability to take care of the animals without having to use the veterinary services very much. Animal control has always, the safety of the animals in my hometown, no matter which hometown I was living in, has always been a passion of mine. And when I had the opportunity to go to work in animal rescue and saw just exactly what the need was in our town, I was pretty much overwhelmed on the number of animals at that time that were free roamers and the number of pregnant dogs and the number of sick dogs. We have one of the highest levels of heartworm disease in the state of Arkansas because of where we live, close to the river. And we have a lot of people in town, just in general, with a lack of knowledge or understanding how heartworms is spread. And that, yes, you do need to give the heartworm medicine every month for the rest of the dog's life, kind of deal. So they don't understand. They think if I just gave it a worm pill, we took care of it. So that's one of the things that I really tried to do in my other position, doing education with the youth at Central High and with the people as we dealt with them on a daily basis. So we have the animal control building out at the landfill. It is really nice. I hope you all have a chance to come out and have a look at it, even though we don't have the doors open yet. It's a nice facility. It can only hold 12. I understand that 12 is not a big number, but 12, if we perform well with it, might just be able to get us through until we might need to expand at a later time. What I need now is some basic supplies to open the doors, and that one of those is the utilities. We have Woodruff Electric, and then we have Lexa Barton Water. And I've been given the go ahead to investigate that tomorrow to see what the cost would be. The pipes are already in the ground out there to where the building is. And hopefully we would be able just to tag into the landfill's line for water and for electricity. So I'm going to see if that's a potential. Yes, sir.
The building that we're talking about is the young man who, none of this was bidded out for the concrete. There was $6,000. The lumber was $1,000. Patrick Carter did all this work that was not bidded out and unapproved by this body. So a lot of the work that was did, now the animal shelter was approved by the former city council in this body, but all the work that has been done has not been approved. It has been done. So I just want to make sure we're all aware of that we had a contractor who came in, charged stuff at H&M, did what he wanted to do, used city equipment, and did all the work. And it wasn't brought to this body. So I want you all to be aware of that as well.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Flora had nothing to do.
Right.
She has nothing to do with that.
If I
One of the
may,
few things I'm not going to have anything to do with.
Right.
Okay.
if I may be clear, what Mayor Franklin has just said, the city council did do an agreement where they said we would apply for a grant from the Bissell Foundation and receive money, and we would work on the animal shelter. At the end of Mayor Smith's administration, he just simply didn't come for the council, just went out, didn't take any bids, built the shelter. The shelter does not have electricity, it does not have water, was never approved by the city council. And then he hired Ms. Florick to run it, knowing that he hadn't brought anything to the city council. Now Ms. Florick is in a position where she's saying, hey, I didn't know any of that. I didn't call to any of that. We were trying to simply work with the city to get it done. He hired me as animal control, and I need it finished. And so that's what she is. She wasn't the genesis of the problem. Mayor Smith was, and none of that has been approved to this day. So you have a kennel there for 12 houses there, 12 spaces there, I mean, and the concrete slab, but it has no electricity, it has no water and no sewer, and that's what she's trying to get done as part of her budget this year and get the other things done to have a full kennel. And so her presentation is about those things. And as part of, you're going to consider what Mayor Smith has done. I don't know exactly what all he's done. You saw the bills, Dr. Miller, you weren't here last night. Patrick Carter charged things on H&M last night that was prevented last night without the approval of the city council. He's not an employee, but he charged many things on the H&M account. And I don't know how much concrete it was. I know personally, Mayor Franklin and I were there to meet with Philip Fields when they were pouring it. And when they were pouring it, they told us it's gonna be greater than 5,000, this be somewhere closer to 10,000, just to pour the concrete slab and then count the kennels. And so I've defined the issue. The city council needs to look at, okay, we haven't paid for any of the stuff that's out there, and none of the electricity and none of the things to make it operable out there. And now Ms. Floric is here to make a presentation trying to get it operable. And that's the background of her presentation. But go ahead, Ms. Floric.
Thank you. Some of the basic needs also will include a microchip reader that will be able to stay with me. They make them now so small that they can be on your keychain, where when we come across animals that we want to check to see if they already have an owner, I can scan them right there and contact the owner without having to move the dog. Or especially if there's an injured animal, somebody calls about a dog that's been hit by a car, something like that. I need a scale that can weigh anything from a 1-pound puppy to a 200-pound German Shepherd. I'm going to need, in the building that's there now, I'm going to need a sink, a double-sided stainless steel sink that's going to be for hand washing and for bowl sanitation, that sort of stuff. And I need to have that before we can get it open. There is no bathroom in this building either. So that will be something that will lead me into the other building that I'm going to need. We're going to need fencing. I learned the hard way in my other job that there's always going to be somebody who's going to want to climb the fence and see the dogs, steal the dogs, harm the dogs. So I'm asking for a significant fencing around the area with razor wire. And I'm going to need a security system with lights, motion detector lights, so we can keep an idea of what's happening there. Or we can use one of the larger, what do they call them, night rider lights that at the entrance to the landfill that will help light up that property so that it will be discouraging maybe to some people who come. There is some fencing that runs parallel with the road to Storm Creek, but it is at a minimum decorative. It doesn't seal off the property. It has holes in it. So I couldn't count on that fencing to help me. When we do the fencing, I hope to take into account a larger area than just what's around the building now, because I wanted to have some areas where we could actually put some 10 by 10, 10 by 20 pins out to allow the dogs to go out and have some grass time out of their kennels. I also am going to need a second trailer, house trailer, however you want to look at it. It could provide the following things: a desk and an operating area for me to do the computer work, a receiving area for people who want to visit with the animals, to see meet and greets, to see if they can adopt the pets, a refrigerator to provide the cold storage for the vaccines and the medications that need to be kept in the refrigerator, closet space with locked doors to keep the other supplies that need to be locked up, 2 bathrooms, I would hope, one for use as a human bathroom and one for a dog to be able to have 2 bathtubs to wash dogs, because we currently don't have any space to do any animal washing right now. Place for washer and dryer for the towels and beds and blankets, whatever are used for the pets, could be there. The extra bedrooms could be, one could be used for storage. We have to have a place for the dog food that's kept in an heat and cool controlled environment to prevent it from spoiling and to discourage mice and other vermin from getting to it. We have one of the other 2 bedrooms could be used for my isolation cases. Whenever you have a rescue, you're always going to have the pet who has Giardia, Coccidia, or the litter of puppies that has parvo, that you have to keep them away from the other animals. So that would allow me a space with floors that could be mopped and a bathroom for hand washing after the care of these animals. could be in one of those bedrooms, or, and then if I have the pregnant mama that has to be away from the others just due to her condition, she could be in the other bedroom. The windows, I checked on this, the windows usually are the same exact size as exhaust windows, exhaust fans. So you would be able to add exhaust fans to 2 of the windows on the opposite ends of the trailer to increase the airflow, air exchange, which would decrease the potential for cross-contamination or spread of infection among the other animals. So that second trailer is really going to be the make or break of this, because it's going to give me everything I need in one setting. I looked at the basic prices of a three bedroom trailer, and they're about $50,000. That doesn't include what would go inside, you know, the washer dryer and that kind of stuff. Medication. One of the things I did talk about when I took this job was the need to have a Friends of the Helena-West Helena shelter. That's what most small cities have, and to help their animal shelter out, they have this group that forms a 501c3, and then they can apply for grants, they can apply for special donations, bequeathments, any type of thing that could come and be directly for the animals that are in the shelter. I know that the one in Wynn has provided for the medical care of the extended medical needs of the dogs that have been hit by cars that needed orthopedic surgery. They've done the heartworm treatments for, I think she told me, 200 dogs in the last year. And that runs about $500 a dog. So to get them to be where they're healthy enough, where they will qualify to be able to leave the shelter and go to another shelter or another home setting up north. Now, as hard as it is to believe, when we look at the number of animals we have here, there are towns that don't have enough dogs. And they have strict restrictions on the people who have pets in that town, where there's mandatory spay neuter, and there is control over the stores that have the puppies and the kittens and stuff. And so there's not any stray animals really running around. They have empty shelters. So that's good for us, because the people in anywhere, say Oklahoma South, we are overrun completely. And COVID, of course, did a number on everybody, and it did a number on the ability to move these dogs north. So the other thing that I would say is, if I could get a cargo van that would allow me to do the transport of our animals north without having to contract with a transport company that charges anywhere from $100 to $200 an animal to move them up north, and that is at a loss to us. We have to pay that with no chance of getting reimbursed at all for that. Where we could do our own transport, I think that would be huge. And right now, there's not enough transport drivers. You would get in line. It's almost like if you were moving across country with a moving van, you have to get in line and wait your turn. So that really screws up a lot of times when you have a chance to move animals. I've been lucky that Leslie Galloway, we've worked together for the last year, helping in her program. And she had to pick up the space that was after the Humane Society was closed. And in the last year, we've done 200 animals, just she and I and a couple of volunteers, moved them out of the just the Helena-West Helena area, not the county, not anywhere else in the state. So she has a facility that I kind of slipped a couple of Helena dogs in on her, and she's been letting me keep them there. We've been feeding them and taking care of them, and the Helena's been paying for their vet care and everything. But her goal is to close on February the 1st. And so I need that utility up and going. So when she's closed, I can move those 2 dogs if they're still here. We really are active on trying to get them transported to another rescue. But we have to have a space to put them. I have 2 mama dogs that thankfully the people where they stop to have their puppies who were not their owners, agreed to let me keep them there until we could get them moved. One has 7 puppies, the other one has 6. And I have no space for them. I have 3 at my house. I have 3 puppies in boarding at Dr. Pittman's, and that's $25 a day. They've been there for 4 days. I may have somebody who's taking them tomorrow. But it's a cost factor that we could avoid if we could speed up getting those utilities on. The cost, vaccination wise, you're gonna be lucky because we can purchase the vaccinations ourselves as when we get set up with our contracts. And I can vaccinate, I can draw blood and run heartworm tests. I can obtain the fecal samples through all my nurse training. I can just go do that. And a lot of times I could take care of an injured animal without having to go to Dr. Pittman, which would be a cost savings for the city. Again, though, that the 501 would be the backup to that to help take care of the larger stuff. Education needs for me and for the second person who's going to be needed fairly quickly. I know there were 2 spots for animal control, and the second spot would be the one who would be the second person going on the animal call for a vicious animal or an injured animal, or to help do with the cleaning and help me with the dogs being vaccinated, different chores. But that person's going to be needed fairly close. And the training, always training that's going to update you on all the new changes legally and across the country on how animal care is going, the new guidelines that come out from the ASPCA or from other governing bodies about the right way to do things in shelter care, and then animal abuse training. There's a course that's, you have 3 levels to pass. Unfortunately, I saw a lot of animal abuse in my other job. And all of the steps that you have to take to be able to prove your case and to take care of the animal and to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So I think the animal abuse training is going to be mandatory because there's so many legal steps to be done. So you don't give them a loophole to be able to slip out of it. So there's an animal training class that's coming up next month, and it's not inexpensive. It's a week and it's $500, but it would be well worth what I could do to help the city when these cases come up. That's about it. You have any questions?
You've talked about in writing and documented, so and so we can look at the what you need for
No, I
put into the budget.
not
or-
just on my paper, but I can provide you with that. Yes. I don't have it in a typed out format, but I can make that for you.
We will need to know exactly, you know, and what the amount of money it's going to take to finance the entire project for 2023.
Yes, sir. I'll see how fast I can get that to you. Any other questions?
I have a couple. When you talked about the transporting of the animals, where are they being transported to?
Well, one of the I guess perks we could say of having Kathy Bissell and her foundation be such a huge supporter here in Helena is she has direct governance over, I think, 125 shelters all over the United States. And they use a computer platform where everybody can see at any given time who's got how many animals, who could help in a case of a crisis, that kind of deal. And with the computer program that she recommended that we get and start to utilize, which would keep track of all the animals, vaccinations, when they came in, where they went, when they got to leave. Shelter Love is the name of the program, and it is directly linked to the platform of the Bissell Foundation. we could link in using that program. So whenever I would have this litter of puppies or this really nice dog that nobody claimed, then all of those shelters that she has on that platform would be able to see it all at the same time. And we might be able to help us move these animals quickly out of here and make space for the ones that might not move as fast.
I was
So,
wondering, because at first I was thinking, I was like, well, why wouldn't, where the animals being transported, why wouldn't they pay the expense?
well, that's a good question. Especially after the majority of the expense has already been handled by the person who has the pet. You've vaccinated them, you've wormed them, you've checked them for heartworms, you've already incurred that cost. But they're in the catbird seat where they can say, how bad do you want to move this dog? And you need to move the dog, so you incur the cost of the transport also to get them where they're going.
And I know that there was a gift that I think the city received for about 50,000. Where was it? What was that supposed to be designated to be spent on?
It was for the animal shelter. Yes, sir.
The actual the building construction.
Yes.
Okay.
And with the idea that there might be more donations from the Bissell Foundation towards us. And as you all know, we've had at least 3 totally free spay neuter clinics that the Bissell folks put on for the people in Helena and Phillips County. And the average cost of a set of vaccine, spay neuter, and a microchip is about $500. And they did at any given time 150 to 300 animals free. And so right now they have a program that is helping us to continue the Bissell use, and it's at the Wynn Animal Rescue. And when they were here and they had so many people wanting to use their program, but they ran out of time, they gave out vouchers, and the vouchers are still good to be used at the Wynn Clinic. You just need to call them and tell them you have the Bissell voucher. And they're allowing us to use 1 voucher will equal 5 dogs or 5 cats. We're not doing cats right now. But if we needed to help some of the folks in the community, they could use them for cats also. So they continue to help us on the side. And I believe she's anxious to bring another vaccination, another spay neuter clinic here in the near future, and maybe in the next 60 days. So that's been huge for this community.
Here's one thing the city council needs to look at as you go through the process. Mayor Smith got the cart before the horse. The city has not defined what we're going to do as it relates to animal control. And so in his efforts to go forward, you all hadn't defined all the things, because she has a lot of great ideas, but the question is, what can the city afford? What can the city do? The Bissell check was for 50,000, and it was towards the structure itself, and the city was supposed to match it with 50,000. I don't know how much the structure costs out there now, but you have something out there now. But this body still has to define what's the scope of how you're going to do the department, and that would lead what the budget is going to be. Because if you make it too large, you won't be able to maintain it. You make it too small, you won't be able to you'll be throwing good money back because you won't be able to accomplish your purpose. But you need to define what it is they're going to do as it relates to it, because she raised points that she may need a second person, need additional training, all the transportation and all those things. What's the scope of what it is that you all see animal control doing? I think you ought to define that up front before you go forward.
That's the problem with animal. The devil has always been in the details. And so my understanding, neither the clerk or treasurer are here, but we approved $50,000 to match. Now it's for the structure. My understanding is that they went over the budget. They've already spent more than 100,000 on the structure. It still has more needs. So as a financial issue, we got to determine what the other needs are. But as far as a city issue, because this happened without us fully developing what we were going to do, there's already city policy. There's a code in place that says you catch them, you hold them. If you don't find a place for them, then they go to the vet. And so what you're looking at is having to either reduce them down to operate within the code or changing the code. It's a lot. It's a lot.
That's why we need it in writing, just to see exactly
Well,
how
yeah.
many dollars we're talking
Yeah,
about.
so we need her proposal with dollar figures, so we even know how much money we're talking about.
Right, and that's the problem, with being so hasty and go ahead and doing it. The body hadn't defined what it is that the city is gonna do, how much money you're gonna spend. You did agree that you would do a structure. I'm not trying to speak what Mr. Anthony said. I don't know that it's a matter of certain that you went over 100,000. But to the extent you went over 100,000, we still have not gotten exactly what Ms. Floric is saying that you even remotely need. You don't have any utilities there. You need a second building, et cetera. And so it's one of those things, we have to define the scope of what we're doing. What type of animals you're gonna deal with, how you're gonna deal with the other animals. 'Cause animal control is a broad thing. It could be very broad, it could be very narrow. And so you have to define what it is, because the issues, I asked her about an incident, she wasn't here then, but code enforcement dealt with a rooster in someone's yard. And so it's one of those things that we have to define what it is we're dealing with animal control and how do you get a system for other people. And so I think that you're going to do this in piecemeal. You need to define it. She needs some money to operate, to go forward. We can look at what the city has spent, what it is that Mayor Smith has done on the ground, because we don't have all those bills, and I don't think they've been paid. But I think she needs to look at you only look at the short-term needs that she needs immediately,
Correct.
as she works through to go towards the long-term need. And you all define what the long-term needs are going to be and define the scope of what animal control is going to be. And so that's why it shouldn't have been done in haste. We should be walking through this together so we all have understanding and do it correctly.
I agree.
On a slightly darker note, so in the community, when you have a dog that, because I'm all for shelters and I'm all for the dogs having the transportation to alternate sites and being saved at all costs, if that's possible. In the case that you have, say, a rabid dog, a dog that's vicious, violent, does not have an owner, because we do have sanitation men who are on the streets, we have our postmen, we have those guys who are out there, and I would imagine that's a liability for our city in terms of their health and their safety.
Correct.
So what, is there a plan that you all do? I know that you want to save dogs at all costs, but is there a plan in place where it's maybe more expedient for us to deal with the dog at the vet?
I understand what you're asking me. In my other role, I would consult with Dr. Pittman, and we would go over the animal together and talk about pros and cons on if it was a vicious dog, if it was a dog whose illnesses were too great a challenge for us to not necessarily throwing a lot of money at it was not going to help the animal. And we worked together as a team to decide on those animals. And yes, there were times that we did euthanize. And I really trust Dr. Pittman on his judgment about this. And he'll tell you that if it's a dog that he would not let in his building for fear of his employees being injured or him being injured, or the dog injuring another pet in there, one of his clients, he's very forthcoming with that. And so we had a good system together. And I talked to him about this last week, and he said that he'd be glad to be on the board or be on the consultation round on animals that would need to have a negative outcome. And that's one of the things too, as a nurse, I believe I've seen so much in my nursing career of sometimes where the family doesn't let the patient go, and it's horrible for the patient. And I'm not going to let that happen to the dog. I'm always going to be on the side of the dog.
One of the questions I think that people listening may have is, I know you're animal control. Historically, when we were young, people used to call them dog catchers and et cetera. What happens if there's a stray dog? And who do they call? And will the dog come do we have the capacity to pick the dog up and remove it from the site?
I've pieced together certain places that I've put some dogs that we did have to pick up. But until I can get that building with utilities, the answer is no. And I've talked to several folks that have called me to tell me about the 9 running dogs on the corner of their street. And, you know, you need to come get them right now. And I explained to them that I go and I evaluate the situation with them. I get them to stand out there and talk to me about what their problems are and tell them that, you know, until I can safely place them somewhere, I can't pick them up. But I have a list of the animals that need to be picked up. And hopefully I'll be able to get them moved into the shelter setting as soon as possible, or have them evaluated by Dr. Pittman. Any more questions?
How large a facility for a city of this size do you think we need out there to handle how many dogs a month, let's say, or a week?
Well, like I was saying, when I was working with Leslie's group, we did between 200 and 215 animals in a 12-month period. Just, yes, and yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's again where the spay neuter program comes
So at
in.
one time, how many dogs would you say would be housed in our facility?
I would imagine once we get going, there'll be 12 every day.
12?
I imagine every cage will be full.
In my mind, trying to get together how many cages, how many rooms, how many facilities you'd have to have out there.
Well,
That's why I say we need.
yes, sir,
to
I understand. That's the reason why I did say in having that other building where I could house some of the sick animals, the pregnant animals, that would keep them separated. But with 12, I believe we would need at least another 12 added at some point in time.
Yeah.
Just in realistically, but I'm glad to start with these 12.
We also got to figure out how much land, how much room would it be? I think we have to talk to the supervisor at the landfill, see how much space that's going to take, because we've started taking from the landfill. I mean, we got to figure out a reasonable plan for
Correct.
this. I understand that with the dogs, there's additional space needed, but we need to also make sure we follow the landfill guidelines, because you know we got a shelter out there. Now you need fencing. There's some more things that we need, but the body has any more questions for Mrs. Floyd?
No, Ms. Floyd, but to Ms. Miller's issue, let me say, notwithstanding the commentary about working with the doctor and on vicious animals, it's been a while since I looked at it. You can visit Ms. Ramsey to take a look at the code. I don't believe our code requires housing of a vicious animal. I believe if that animal is determined to be vicious, I believe the code says.
No, the idea would be for us not to have to house them.
Right.
For that to be taken care of immediately.
You mean, and I thought that's what she was asking, but I
Yes.
wanted to just be clear
Yes.
about that, yeah.
And with animal control, Ms. Floyd, do y'all pick up dead animals off the street?
No. My understanding, and in the
Yes.
past, I picked up the live ones in my other job, and I notified the sanitation department when I came across the dead ones. I know that might have been what you were thinking. Speak now and tell me what you think.
No, wait. No, ma'am.
No, I'm sorry.
No, ma'am. I'll direct him. You direct us.
Thank
You
you.
tell us what you need. We're gonna keep, because he's no. So
Okay.
are you done? Are you finished?
I'm finished. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, man. Any more questions, Ms. Floyd?
Thank you.
We ain't gonna do that. So with the time, the water department, Mr. Murdoch.
I'm just observing.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So the minute, we're gonna push the next to the administration and water department to Thursday. I do have some, Mr. Bruce from Simpson from the landfill sent me a message. They're gonna need a dozer. In Tarun is $6,700, and they need a dozer out there at the landfill. He says the hydraulic pump went out on the B4 before lunch. He says AEQ is gonna wonder why we haven't sent the feedback to them showing that they have fixed the problem. So I want to know if y'all want to take action on it tonight, or they need this as of tomorrow. It's 60, if they rent it today, it's $6,700 a month.
That'll cover 30 days.
Yes, sir.
I'll move that we approve the $6,700 so they can rent the Doja. I guess we've already had the presentation, so we know the situation.
So Mr. Inslee moves to get the dozer for $6,700. Ms. Davis, second. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
I didn't understand the motion.
The motion was to approve the Doja for $6,700. Be 6,000, yeah, Doja for, no, not purchase, it's a rental for $6,700 for a period of 30 days is what that will cover.
30 days.
Yes, sir.
$6,000.
Yes, sir. That's the motion.
And Mr. Anthony, so at the end of that 30 days, we come back to the table and make a decision whether to rent it for another 30 days or.
In my mind, they will come back and tell us where they are in terms of getting the one that they have repaired or replaced or whatever. And that's the equipment proposal that's supposed to go to the treasurer. I'm thinking we'll take care of it when we pass our budget, but they let us know. But we know if they don't get it done, that ADEQ is on them to shut down. So
We're getting our dozer fixed, is that correct?
we don't know. The presentation that we've been given is that we may get it fixed, we may get it replaced. We're gonna get a proposal from the treasurer at some point on finance, and I think he already has the numbers, is what he said last night. He already has the numbers, but he hasn't done it in a format where he can tell us what it
I'm
costs.
for renting something right away, to
Right.
get our landfill going, but we
Exactly.
don't need to go down that road continuously.
No.
12 months renting.
That's, yeah,
the
all this
dozer.
rent stuff with prices where you could have purchased it is foolishness.
Okay.
Just to be clear, it's not a dozer, it's a track home, I'm sorry.
Sorry, track.
Track home.
So I-
The one that they ran the tracks off the track home, we in the track home to get this done, stuff moved. You weren't here last night, but we had pictures and
I
everything.
saw last night.
Okay, well, I wish you
Aware
were.
of what's going on.
So I'll amend my motion to be a track hole for $6,700 for 30 days
Okay.
for the landfill.
No, thank you. I apologize for that.
I vote yes.
Oh, good.
Harris. Miller.
Yes.
Miller. Okay.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, so I guess that's all for tonight. I want to thank you all for coming. We're gonna do the water department Thursday.
We got
Yes.
the authority to engage the engineer.
On Ward Street, where. So I sent, if you are aware, I think we sent an email out with pictures on Ward Street. So we're gonna need to engage in the contract with the engineer to go over there and look at that, because pipes are being exposed over there. If you're not familiar, if you're not familiar with the street, it's over in Midland Heights area, that's where it is. So I'll be happy to get a motion.
So what I propose, rather than specific to Word Street, is that you propose that the mayor engage in a general contract with the engineer for projects as needed, as long as they don't exceed the suspended authority. So I'll do it that way.
So
I missed the discussion.
do I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Madam, so motions by Mr. Anthony, second by Mr. Miller. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Roll call on Mr. St. Columbia,
Yes.
Harris. Miller.
Yes.
Davis. Okay.
Anthony Miller.
Pictures are very good.
And Ethelbert, yes, Ethelbert. I'm sorry.
Mr. Miller.
Miller, yes. Mhm.
So if that's not, okay, I move, we're adjourned. Can I get a motion to move adjourn? Mr. St. Clement. See y'all Thursday night.
Thursday night, what are we gonna cover?
Everything.
Water administration.